Howdy YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is my first week of April reading vlog. So it is April 3rd and I haven't recorded or started this vlog yet because I'm still just working on stuff. However, I did go out of town on Saturday, April 1st, and I bought some books. So I thought I would do a mini little book haul for you to start off this vlog. So first I went to Telegraph Comics in Charlottesville and I got two things there. I got a little zine titled Week Planner, Why I'm Too Busy for Therapy. I don't really know a whole lot about it because zines are very tiny and small, so usually I just do a very brief flick through to see if it's something I'm interested in because I don't want to spoil it for myself. So anyways, this is by Files 3D Piss on Instagram seemingly. So yeah, don't know anything about it, but got this little zine. And then I got On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. It is blurbed by Brian K. Vaughan, who did Paper Girls, which I really liked. Although I'm not sure I ever finished the series, but I did like the TV show on Amazon, and I know I read the first couple trade paperbacks. So that intrigued me, and I thought, I love a big chunky graphic novel, to be quite honest. I thought it looked pretty. And it was in they have like a LGBTQ plus section. So I always spend a little time looking through there and seeing if there's anything interesting to me. And the little summary plot description is: a restoration crew travels to the deepest reaches of space, rebuilding beautiful, broken structures to piece the past together. Two girls meet in boarding school and fall deeply in love, only to learn the pain of loss. With two interwoven timelines and stunning art, award-winning graphic novelist Tilly Walden creates an inventive world, breathtaking romance, and an epic quest for love. And then just look at this title page. I don't think you can see the light colored stars, but it's and just flipping through it, the colors look great. I'm very excited to read this. When we checked out, the cashier talked about how much he loved this and how great it was. So I'm really excited to read that. I've talked about how romance is not my favorite plot point. However, I do find in general, graphic novel comic formats, romance stories tend to work a little bit better for me. And I think that's because in general, reading a graphic novel is less taxing. I still believe it is like a real book you're actually reading when you read a graphic novel. It's not like I see them as less valuable literature or art. It's just less taxing mentally for me, and it really lends itself well to romance for me because when I'm reading a book, plot, like an actual, a novel, plot tends to be the thing that really keeps me moving. And obviously it's more just mentally taxing to read pages and pages of words in a story. So romance is just not that thing that keeps me wanting to pick up a book that takes work to read. So the low stakes vibes of a romance tends to work in graphic novels because there's just less friction to reading a graphic novel, if that makes sense. I don't need as much motivation to read a graphic novel. I can finish graphic novels I'm not vibing with very easily. So yeah, the other thing is I went to a real bookstore. Usually when I go to Charlottesville, I like to pop into New Dominion bookstore if I'm near the mall. It's been open for almost 100 years. And they usually have a great selection of books, stuff I haven't heard of, local stuff, but also, popular things. Not necessarily book talk popular, but well-acclaimed critical things that are popular on the book internet. Anyways, so I managed to snag, can you guess? Can you guess what I'm about to hold up? Can you guess? All three, all three Poppy War books. So I had been thinking about buying these. I was kind of hoping to buy, now I have the hiccups, lovely. I was wanting to buy the hardcovers, to be quite honest. I don't really love the like colors of the paperbacks. But when I Googled it, first it doesn't seem like the hardbacks are really easily obtainable anymore. But also the ones that I did see were quite pricey. And I'm just like not that invested in that. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy the paperbacks, whatever. But I have not been able to find the first book anywhere locally. I even resorted, I was like, I'll definitely be able to find it at Books A Million. And they, all they had was, I think they only had the second book when I went to Books A Million. Yeah, they didn't have the first book. I went to my local indie. I was like, okay, I'll just go to the indie. Because I saw the last time I had been to the indie, they had just restocked the first book. But it wasn't in stock there either. They just had the last two. And you know, like I could have, you know, placed an order for it or told her to let me know when more got in stock and I would have come and bought one. But like I wasn't on a time crunch. I had already read the first book by the time I decided I was gonna probably buy the series. So I was just like, I'll see it when I see it. So then we popped into the bookstore and I saw these two on the shelf and I was like, God damn it, I can't find the first book still anywhere. You know, I also looked at Target because they have like a book talk section and they had like all the fucking Sarah J Maas books. But no, I think they might have had Babel, I can't remember, but not the Poppy War series. So anyways, I saw these two on the shelf. I was like, interesting. And then I was like coming around because the way it's set up, it's like a very long shotgun store. So I'll come up one side and then come around. And so as I was coming around the bend, they have a section of shelves that are like employee recommendations. And the only copy of the Poppy War was sitting on Molly's shelf under currently reading, and I snagged it and I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy the whole series. So I bought the whole series, book 1, book 2, which I'm still currently digitally reading, just because I have it on my phone, but my loan expires in 3 or 4 days. So I'm not sure I'm gonna finish it digitally, but now I don't have to worry about going to the back of the line. I can just pick this up wherever I ended up reading it digitally, but I'm hoping I can finish it that way just because in general I don't like to tend to change formats that way. Anyways, so here's book 2. And then I'm not gonna have to worry about, I mean, there are lines for all the books at my libraries, so I'm not gonna have to worry about that for book 3 because I'll just pop directly into book 3. I did see on Goodreads that there's like a collection of short stories about Neza, I think. But I haven't seen that anywhere. So, and I'm not even really sure if it like fits the, like the theme, the vibe of the rest of these paperbacks. So I'll probably still read that one just from a library or something. But I'm really happy to have these. Hopefully they live up to the hype for me, or not the hype, well, I don't know, I guess it's hype. Anyways, I hope I'm happy with how this series continues to go and end since I just bought the whole series. I will say, as I've been reading this, I'm like 60% in now. I will say this definitely does feel like a second book, or how I imagine most people feel about second books. Usually I love a second book, to be quite honest. I'll really enjoy a first book and then I'll read the second book. And since I'm like already invested and connected to the characters, I just love what second book stories tend to be. However, this one is definitely feeling a little sloppy, maybe. Sloppy sounds rude because it's still probably going to be a 4. But it's definitely, it took a while for me to really like get into it, and I'm still like not totally 100% like really super invested in what this war situation is and Rin's whole situation. I don't want to get into spoilers yet, especially because I haven't finished it yet, and maybe the end will really just like pull it all together. But it's definitely feeling like a second book to me in the like just the way I imagine people typically feel about second books. I feel like people a lot of times are disappointed by sequels, and I'm kind of maybe in that boat currently, but we'll see. We'll see. I will also say I started realizing as I was reading this, the like metaphor that I wasn't quite picking up on in the Poppy War, and not because of writing, just because like my brain does not think that way when I'm reading a book. But the reason why the weaponization of gods kept standing out to me and was so interesting to me is it seems like it's a kind of analogy or metaphor for like advancing weapons of war, and how you cannot totally foresee or control how those weapons are used, or like the outcomes of or consequences of advancing weaponry in that way. And you can never fully predict what will happen when you introduce more deadly, more intense, more extreme weapons to the battlefield, you know? You talk about like how this will make wars end quicker or things of that nature, but it could also mean wars are worse, if that makes sense. So I've been realizing that it's like why that particularly sticks out to me, and like it's probably very obvious to more talented invested readers than me, but yeah, it finally clicked for me in book 2. Anyways, I actually talked longer than I thought I would about these books. Yeah, you'll see me sometime this week when I finish The Dragon Republic, which will be sooner rather than later. Like I said, I'm like 60% in, I think. In the last 2 days, I've read 100 pages, like each day. So if I keep that pace up, I'll actually finish it Tuesday, I think. Wait, today's Monday. Wednesday, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, you'll see me at some point with thoughts about Dragon Republic. Okay, bye. Greetings. It is April 5th, and I just finished The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is book 2 of the Poppy War series. I talked about in my clip earlier that this definitely felt like a second book, and it did. It did. The first half was a little slow for me personally. I felt like there was just like a lot going on. I wish, at least in the beginning, although I guess throughout the story, this book particularly, I wish there was just like a little bit more emotional development of the characters. It's pretty easy to understand Rin because we are getting her thoughts and feelings, but I wish there was just like a little bit more depth to some of the other characters, Neza and Kate, and just like some of the other people involved in this particular story. I think this is part of where R.F. Kuang's real quick storytelling and like the plots kind of does like just a little bit of a disservice to the characters. I just wanted just a little bit more emotional development, but like it wasn't bad. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I still like the first one more, but the second half I definitely thought got a lot better. There was just like a lot of things going on, and you know, a lot of it gets tied up at the end of this book. I might like it more on a reread when I already know what's going on, and kind of know where certain things are headed, but it also just felt like maybe just a little bit too much going on. There was a lot of different plots and things. Also in the beginning, a small spoiler, but a good chunk of the beginning, Rin does not have her fire powers, and so that got old and boring to read about. But she eventually gets it back, so it's fine. The cliffhanger for book 3 like doesn't have me like screaming, jumping, freaked out, ready for book 3, but I'm obviously gonna read book 3 and I'm expecting I'll like it. But I thought it was gonna end at a different place, and then it like just kept going, which I feel like is something Rebecca is very good at, and unfortunately like just didn't pay off for me. Anyways, so I had a good time. Once I finally got into it, I was like reading 100 pages a day, which was wild. So if I had been reading more on pace the whole time, I would have finished this much sooner, but that has nothing to do with anything. So I'm going to take tomorrow off from the Poppy War, and I'm going to try and finish some of the other things I'm reading. I have not touched the Impossible Community in like a week, so I definitely want to at least read 5 pages of that. I'm definitely not going to catch up on all the reading I haven't done, because it's just not going to happen. But I do want to at least read one little section of it tomorrow because I haven't touched it in so long. And I think I'm going to try and finish Slonim Woods 9 tomorrow. I'm like right at the halfway point, I think. Maybe not. I think it's like 44% I'm at. But it's a really short book, so like it's only like it's just over 100 pages I have left. So I'm going to try and finish that in the next 24-ish hours, 36 hours. And then I have an audiobook where I only have like an hour and a half of it left. So I need to finish that at some point too. So I'm going to try and finish some things here at the end of the week. And then I will start Burning God. Is that what the next one's called? Anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Hello. It is April 6th. And I just wanted to pop in because I finished an audiobook last night. I finished Wherever You Go, There You Are, Mindfulness Meditation in Everyday Life by Jon Kabat-Zinn. I really have 0 things to say. It is what it is. It's about meditation. I personally found the first half to be a little more interesting or helpful than the second half, but overall, it was a 3-star listen. It wasn't very long. If you're interested in meditation, you might be interested in this. I believe it's pretty popular, pretty well-known book. I listened to it because Jeremy Strong had mentioned it, and I don't know if I've talked about it, but big Succession Kendall Roy fan. So, yeah, that is how I ended up listening to this. Yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Hello, it is April 7th, and I have just finished reading with my own 2 eyeballs, Slonim Woods 9 by Daniel Barbin Levin. This is a memoir about his time living in the orbit of Larry Ray, who was running a cult at Sarah Lawrence College. I find like a weird resistance to using the word cult, and it's not because the things Larry Ray did to these people, it's not because those weren't horrific. They were absolutely horrific and abusive. There's just something weird about the fact that there's like no like cohesive group identity, I guess. And I don't think that's actually necessary for a cult. Like they don't have to be religious. if they don't have to be pushing an agenda necessarily. It's just such a weird situation, and how like they all came together is just like not, I guess, typical of like what you see in the media. But I don't I don't know what else you would call it besides like it's a psychologically abusive friend group that was ruled by one of the friend's fathers. He had been psychologically manipulating his daughter since childhood, and ended up bringing her friends into his orbit, and things really just got pretty horrific. Anyways, I only gave it 3 stars. I think there's a couple reasons for this. One, it took me a really long time to read it. And that's because I kept stopping and starting it. I think I started it while I was reading the first Poppy War book. Like, it's been a while that I've been reading this. And so, like, part of that is my fault of, like, stopping and starting. The other one is, I think I probably would have liked this more in audiobook. I have talked about, I don't really like reading memoirs that much. I find it hard to find the bandwidth to read memoirs, just because they aren't plot-based, like, fast-paced things. Fiction works better for me physically. So yeah, there is an audiobook, but the digital e-book was the more easily accessible book for me to get. So not a whole lot I can do about that. I read it, and it is what it is. I think it's interesting because it's really told from his perspective. You're really in his head, and like he not explains, but like you see like how he could get wrapped up in the psychological manipulations of Larry Ray, and how you could get caught up in that. I feel like a lot of times in these like culty true crime stories, people are like, I would never fall for that. I can't believe these people. Blah, 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 blah. You know, like they have this mindset that like it could never happen to them. And I've never been of that mindset. I think people are a lot easier to be manipulated than they realize. And so I think this really did a good job of showing that. There are like, I mean, there were parts of Daniel's story that I related to, like the way he thought about certain things, or the way he felt or understood his place in society, that I could relate to. And I feel like there are probably other parts of his life that other people would relate to. And you can see bits of yourself in him, and it kind of really highlights how and shows how someone can get sucked into something like this without it being like a whole like intense, I mean, like it was an intense situation, but it's kind of like the, you know, you boil a frog slowly sort of situation. You don't realize just how intense and crazy it is until it's like really intense and crazy, and you're like, how did I get here? So yeah, I think that was really just an excellent part of this book. I don't know if it was published before anyone else had left, but it was definitely written, at least in good portion, before anyone else had left Larry Ray's apartment orbit. So I found the note at the end to be really sweet, talking about how they can leave. Like, he talked about how he tried to respect their privacy as much as possible, only mentioning the other people when it was necessary for telling his story, but he wanted this to be about him, and he wanted to respect the privacy of the other people in this cult, because like he doesn't know their story. It's not his right to tell their story just because they shared a a living arrangement with a manipulative asshole. But like, he had a right to tell his own story. But he was also like, you guys can leave too. Like, this is a thing you can do as well. You can leave. And he recognized, like, I know Larry's telling you these things, and all these things I'm telling you, he could probably spin into me trying to manipulate you, X, Y, and Z, but all I want for you is to be safe and happy and loved. And you're able to leave if you want to leave. I just found that really to be lovely and sweet, and just very kind. I'm glad that these people have gotten out of the orbit of Larry Ray. I'm not going to necessarily say I'm happy he's in prison, but I'm glad he does not have easy access to children, young adults to manipulate and take money from and abuse mentally and physically. So yeah. But yeah, I hope these people are happy and safe. I did watch the documentary. I do know some of these people were able to reunite, start rebuilding relationships with their families and stuff. So like, I know a lot of these people are on a better path, but I'm still just sending them good wishes. So yeah, anyways, that's a lot to say about a 3-star book. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the book and the situation, I guess. All right. Oh, it is the 7th. Usually I would close out a vlog here, but I don't have my reading journal down here and I don't feel like going and getting it. So I will close out tomorrow. Hi, hello. It is April 8th. I am closing out this vlog because it's time to close out the vlog. So last night I finished a book and then I said I would come back to close it out. So that's what I'm doing. I read 3 books this week. The Dragon Republic, Wherever You Go, There You Are, and Slonim Woods 9. Dragon Republic was my favorite read this week. You know, it was a decent week. A little slow, but that's to be expected. I spent a good chunk of it only reading The Dragon Republic, and you know, that's a 600 plus page book. So that just takes a lot of time when you're reading a book that big. So there's that. I did start 2 new books today. I started, oh, I haven't written them down. I started The Burning God, which is the last Poppy War book. And then I started The Rise and Fall of the Neoliberal Order, America and the World in the Free Market Era by Gary Gersel. I'm listening to this as an audiobook. It's like 13 hours. But I just started it when I was doing my little treadmill trot this morning. And then, yeah, I'm still reading The Impossible Community. I don't have anything new or great to say about it. The desire to DNF it is strong. So, yep, those are the things I am working on. Those are the things I read this week. I will see y'all next week with a different reading vlog. All right, bye.